I summoned an epic beast for the first time, one of the rarest in existence. A sacred angel, and right in the middle of the ceremony, I openly demanded 30 million for it. Everyone in the room burst out laughing at me. They called me a complete delusional fool. The moment I summoned that angel, it flew straight to the rich family's heir, knelt, and swore loyalty to him. Faced with that instant betrayal, I didn't hesitate. I offered to sell it to that brat for 30 million. I also demanded to choose a beast from his group's guild as compensation. After all, a disloyal beast will eventually kill its master, no matter its level. The chosen group finally agreed to my price and my conditions. Now, inside the chosen guild's beast shop, an employee leads me straight to the third floor. Containment units of all sizes line the sales area in perfect order, locking away every kind of creature. Mr. You can choose any beast you like on this floor, the employee says. My gaze sweeps the room and stops on a monster covered in crimson scales, a chilling beast, elite potential, rank 1. I keep moving to the next one, an imposing, snow-white blizzard demon wolf resting lazily in its cage. Blizzard demon wolf, potential, elite, rank 6, skill, vampirism. I walk through the hall without rushing, but my brow furrows as I realize most of these are just common or elite grade. The best one here is barely a hero grade rank 2 candlelight beast. This is far below what I expected. Is this all you have? I stop and look at the smiling employee following me. Yes, sir. Aside from these, there are only a few unsold beasts left in the basement from the auction. They're just scraps no one wanted with incurable defects, so they aren't even worth your time. Getting rid of them usually meant selling them off cheap overseas or just destroying them. I nodded and told him, since I'm already here, I want to check every corner to be sure. Take me there. A flash of surprise crossed the employee's eyes before he replied, understood, please follow me. The hallway leading to the basement was damp, the air thick with a faint stench of blood and rot. The beasts down here were exactly as he described, broken, listless, or physically disabled, their eyes empty and dead. I didn't let it bother me and kept checking them one by one, scanning each with my system panel. Just as I reached the end of the basement hall, my steps came to a sudden halt. My gaze locked onto an insignificant containment unit in the corner where a dull-feathered bird huddled. Liang Yinjing. Quality, hero, rank 7, level, 1 star, skills, scorching rain and searing talon. Status, broken leg, disabled, and suffering from musical snake venom. Evolution path, use wind cloud tiger bone to heal the leg and 7 flavor flower to cure the poison. Rank 7, my eyebrows shot up. This bird's potential was far better than I expected. Despite the broken claw and the poison, my panel clearly showed the 2 methods to fix it. Both materials are common and easy to find, making this deal an absolute steal. I'd have a rank 7 warrior in perfect condition, the best possible option at this stage of the game. I was about to speak when something in the darkness further back caught my eye. It was a man-sized energy cage that looked completely out of place among the larger containers. I stepped closer, my pupils contracting as I saw a figure leaning weakly against the cold metal wall. A human? No, it was a humanoid beast, hidden away in the basement of a merchant guild. The moment I looked at it, a feeling of pure, soul-deep rejection surged inside me. The beast inside seemed to sense a stranger's presence and slowly lifted its head to look at me. But as if hit by an electric shock, it immediately looked away and lowered its gaze. In that brief second when it looked up, I finally got a clear look at its face. It was hideous, horrific. Thorn-shaped scars crisscrossed its entire face, stretching all the way down to its ankles. The scars formed a twisted, terrifying pattern that made it impossible to distinguish any original features. Seeing me stop, the employee shrugged and said, that's just a succubus we caught in a space rift. It already looked that disgusting when they brought it in. Nobody wants it. Not only is it ugly, it's cursed. Its level is stuck at 1 star mortal forever. Tomorrow we're taking it out to be destroyed with the rest of the defective products. The employee glared at the succubus in the cage, not even bothering to hide his disgust. But I didn't hear a single word he said. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a drum. The translucent panel only I could see suddenly flickered to life before my eyes. Lilith, succubus of thorns, neutral faction, status, no contract, available. Current rank, common, level 1. Original potential, epic, rank 9, sealed by curse. Attributes, darkness and awakened spirit. Skills, thorn domain, dark wave, and devastating sun lotus. Negative status, curse of divine beauty. Effects, 0 experience gain, potential sealed, appearance distorted. Evolution path, the curse can be broken with a healing massage, which will also improve its aptitude. My breath hitched the moment I saw those words. Epic, rank 9. A beauty so great, even the gods would envy it. That's why she was cursed. This beast has the highest potential I've ever seen. That angel who betrayed me doesn't even compare. This means if I buy this succubus and find those materials, I'll have a terrifying, near-legendary being. My breath hitched. She was the companion I'd been searching for, my true first beast. I turned to the employee and said, excuse me, I'm taking this succubus. Can I have her right now? Inside the cage, Lilith heard my words, and her frail body shuddered violently. She snapped her head up, staring at me with eyes like cat-eyed gems, filled with pure disbelief. Since the day she was born, the entire world had treated her with nothing but malice. She had become numb, never daring to hope that anyone would ever accept her existence. But now, this stranger was pointing at her, ready to sign a beast contract. The employee's professional smile froze as he hesitated, doubting his own ears. Sir, are you absolutely sure you want to choose her? I didn't hesitate. I'm certain. Now, prepare a private room for us to sign the contract. The concern in his eyes deepened, but his professionalism kept him from asking more questions. Understood. Please follow me to the private room to finalize the paperwork. Lilith followed behind us, her movements stiff and rigid. From the moment they pulled her from the cage, her world had dissolved into a blur of chaos. She remained in a daze until we stepped into a silent, secluded room. The employee removed her restraints and stepped back. She finally snapped out of it, looking at me with a trembling, confused gaze. I stood there, staring intently at the young woman standing before me. I've been cursed since birth. I can't even increase my own power, she stammered, her voice thick with panic. You chose me, but this servant cannot help you with anything, much less bring you glory. That sudden voice shook me. I never imagined this cursed-looking succubus would have such a captivating voice. I have a way to break the curse weighing you down. Are you willing to sign a contract with me? At the mention of breaking the curse, Lilith's heart skipped a beat as if gripped by an invisible hand. My life, from the moment you made your decision, it already belongs entirely to you. Her voice was soft, yet loaded with absolute determination. Without another word, I condensed a small light and gently touched Lilith's forehead. An ancient magic circle appeared beneath our feet and then faded. Equality contract established. I immediately turned around and called for the employee waiting outside. I need to buy some materials, a dark night feather, 5 infernal fangs, and 2 demonic relief stones. The employee's face twisted in even greater shock than when I first chose the succubus. Those 3 items were extremely rare and expensive, especially the high-level demonic relief stones. Sir, the total value of these materials. Before he could even finish speaking, I had already extended my universal terminal toward him. 30 million should be enough. The employee stared at the balance on the screen, his breath hitching. It's more than enough, sir. His attitude became more respectful than ever as he hurried away to prepare the order. By sunset, the materials emanating dark energy were delivered with extreme care to the private chamber. Now, it was just me and Lilith. Do exactly as I say. First, absorb this feather. My voice, firm and steady, gave Lilith an immense sense of calm she had never known. Lilith looked at me and nodded with determination, reaching out a trembling hand to touch the dark night feather. The moment the feather touched her fingertip, it turned into a bolt of black light and fused into her body. Next, the infernal fangs, and finally, the 2 demonic relief stones. As Lilith's hand closed around the stones, a violent transformation began. Boom! An explosion of raw energy erupted with Lilith at the epicenter. The force of the blast sent me reeling back until my spine hit the cold wall. I steadied myself, my eyes locked on the center of the room. Mysterious violet-black threads were surging frantically from within Lilith. They wove together, forming a giant cocoon taller than a man. An oppressive, icy dark energy flooded the room, swallowing her whole. I stared at the black cocoon, feeling a heavy vibration in my chest. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. According to the system panel, this wouldn't just break her curse. It would restore her potential to its peak and then surpass it. This was a high-stakes gamble where I was putting everything on the line. If I succeeded, I'd have a beast with infinite potential and a clear path to the top. Time crawled by second, each one feeling like a century. Suddenly, the purple energy permeating the air contracted, rushing back into the cocoon. Crack! A sharp sound echoed as beams of dazzling gold light pierced through the shell. I held my breath. That was it, the glow of a legendary gold aptitude. The cracks multiplied until a blinding light turned the room as bright as day. The terminal was displaying the results of this year's summoning ceremonies across the city's high schools. Suddenly, Xiaoyan jumped up and rushed to the massive window, his sharp gaze fixed on the east side of the city. I had just sensed a terrifying, fleeting aura that covered more than half of Lian's city in an instant. The power within it was as vast as an ocean, and it took me a long time to calm my spirit. Someone get in here, I barked, and a sharp-looking uniformed man immediately hurried into the office. Notify the city guard immediately, I said, my voice heavy with seriousness. Watch the district closely. Investigate any anomalies in the west, especially any signs of a spatial rift opening. Yes, sir, my subordinate replied before turning and rushing out of the room. I was left alone in the office, the tension in the air so thick it could be cut with a knife. To trigger an energy reaction of this magnitude, there were only 3 possibilities. First, a new and unknown spatial rift had just opened nearby. Second, a terrifying monarch-level entity had descended upon us. And third, a beast with legendary-level aptitude had just been born. Monarch-level experts are major figures in Yanhuang, and their every move is tracked. They wouldn't just sneak into Lian. As for a legendary beast, those are tied to sacred lands, and I haven't seen one in the 10 years since I was assigned here. In a mid-sized city like Lian, even an epic-level spirit beast is a miracle, let alone a legend. I couldn't wrap my head around it, so I sat back down and opened the blueprints I hadn't finished reviewing. But I never could have imagined that the source wasn't a rift, but a transformation happening inside the Chusan Chamber of Commerce. When the last trace of energy finally dissipated, the room fell into a deathly, eerie silence. I kept my eyes locked forward, my heartbeat thundering in my ears as the blinding light finally began to fade. A figure stood silently before me, shattering the laws that had governed both of my lives. The horrific thorn scars that once covered Lilith's body had vanished without a trace. She wore a form-fitting, violet-black dress that perfectly outlined her heart-pounding curves. Her silky black hair fell like a waterfall, framed by thin horns that marked her demonic identity. Her beauty was otherworldly, her opal-like eyes watching me with a natural, seductive charm. Behind her, magnificent violet-black butterfly wings stirred, scattering a faint, ghostly spiritual dust. Compared to her previous withered appearance, the difference was like heaven and earth. But what really made my heart race was the semi-transparent screen unfolding before my eyes. Lilith, the Night Witch. Faction, Abyss. Intimacy, Max. Aptitude, Legendary Rank 1. Level, Mortal 1 star. Attributes, Dark and Psychic. Skills: Thorns of Agony, Relic of Mortal Desire, Lotus of Absolution, Blood of the Seven Sins. Legendary level. I stared at those dazzling words on the panel and slowly let out a breath. Betting nearly 30 million credits for a beast with legendary aptitude was an absolute steal. This was the light at the end of the tunnel, a new beginning after hitting rock bottom. As I stood there absorbed in the panel, Lilith moved, her face drawing close without a sound. She looked deep into my eyes, as if trying to sear my image into the depths of her soul. She raised a pale finger to her forehead, pulling out a strange, glowing trace of reddish-purple energy. While I watched in confusion, she gently pressed that crimson touch against my own brow. Suddenly, a mysterious and profound sensation of absolute, irresistible control surged through my mind. It felt as if, with a single thought, I could now decide whether Lilith lived or died. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately checked the status panel. The equality contract I had signed with Lilith had silently transformed into a slavery contract. I was completely shocked and couldn't help but ask her why she would do such a thing. Lilith didn't answer immediately, stepping closer until her orchid-like scent filled my lungs as she threw herself into my arms. The sensation was warm and electric, and her voice trembled slightly as she whispered in my ear. From the moment you chose me in that cold basement, nothing else mattered. You rescued me from infinite darkness and despair. Now, my life and my everything are your gifts. Lilith rested her cheek gently on my shoulder, her voice dripping with deep satisfaction. So please, accept all of me. I stood there, completely paralyzed, as if a giant hammer had just struck my heart. An indescribable warmth surged from the depths of my soul, spreading through my entire body instantly. I thought back to that angel of light who had betrayed me in front of everyone. She had acted with such cold indifference, as if stabbing me in the back was the most natural thing in the world. But Lilith showed me that true loyalty and devotion could be this fervent and this pure. Moved by her absolute trust, I slowly raised my hand and rested it gently on her back. She felt my response and pulled me into an even tighter embrace. Master, from this day forward, I will clear the path for you and eliminate every obstacle. I looked down at the beautiful face in my arms, and a sincere smile finally touched my lips. Welcome, Lilith, my first companion. When I walked down the stairs with Lilith, the entire first-floor lobby fell into a dead silence. Every eye in the room, from the staff to the customers, gravitated toward Lilith in shock. Whispers erupted everywhere. Who is she? His servant? She's breathtakingly beautiful. The clerk who had just served me stood frozen, his eyes bulging as if they might pop out. He stared at the seductive, dazzling sorceress following me, his mind going completely blank. Was that really the hideous succubus from the basement? How was this even possible? Forced to believe his own eyes, he plastered on a stiff, funeral-like smile and rushed over. Mister, your paperwork is complete. You are free to leave whenever you wish. I nodded, ignoring the stunned gazes, and led Lilith calmly out of the Chamber of Commerce. Only after we